Hey, so it's our friend Chibi's birthday. If you've watched the vids on my channel, you'll know them as my editor. They mainly handle the sound in all of it. I handle all the animating and drawing the characters up and everything, and recording the podcast for the niche. And we're also working on a new project. I stream art streams of weapon design, and I call it Weapon Wednesday. Hopefully we'll have that out soon. I know they're working really hard to finish editing the first one. Like I even tagged out and I was like, I know you're only about halfway done, so I'll handle the second one and we'll hopefully get this out next week kind of deal. And we can probably just like double down on getting content out. We're also relearning a new program for editing because I was using one that like came with the laptop but it had like a subscription thing and I wanted to save some money, so we're switching to DaVinci Resolve. I wanted to make this video because I want them to know how much I appreciate all the work they're doing behind the scenes, as well as just knowing them ever since I met them, because they are a very special and inspiring person to me, especially helping out with this passion project of mine. Because as much as I know of all the technical work that needs to happen, it's a lot to pile on. And while I can get all the artistic stuff done relatively easy, there's a lot of tedious stuff and social media things that they have been helping carry the weight on, and I couldn't be more appreciative of it if I tried. Because, like, we talk about compensating for all the time and effort, and they do more than I ever asked them to do. And I'm like, oh God, I really hope we don't get to a point where I run out of money before this starts paying off. So I'm gonna tell everyone a little bit about this awesome person that's helping me build my career. So despite realistically being about the size of my arm, they're very tiny. They don't have the name Chibi for no reason. But they're actually older than me. They are my senpai by technicality because they're about 2 years ahead of me when I first got to college. I met them when my roommate dragged me to anime club, and they were the president at the time. And while I try to boast a lot of confidence in these videos, and I think perspectively I've come a long way socially, considering I'm making them and getting my friends in on this very conversational content. I entered college just kind of reinventing myself, you know, emo streaks, antisocialness, hating everyone around me and letting them know it, and having to reestablish relationships and all that, and having to get back to wanting to socialize. Yeah, we all do it. But when I met them, they became like a very inspirational person to me because they have anxiety and tend to seem like a very awkward mess at times. No offense. Most of my friends are like that anyways. I don't know how it happened, but I'm usually the only one who can make decisions, and everyone asks me to order food whenever we're hanging out. Because no one can decide on a restaurant. I'm just like, why? That's the worst part. Not only do I have to choose, but I have to talk to people and give them the orders. You all suck for that. Anyways, joking aside, they're a very open, welcome, and understanding person. And when I first started at going to the anime club, I hung out in the back. I was mostly drawing and keeping to myself, glancing around, trying to get a read on all the people that were there. And Chibi was very understanding of that. And whenever it came to like socializing, they were patient and welcoming. You know, it wasn't like having a hyper extrovert come up and be like, "Hey, come join us for this thing. Do it. It's fun." Okay. And I also came into college like having a hatred of MMO communities, and I was quitting off of them despite a love of gaming. And hanging out with Chibi actually got me back into like investing time into them again. You know, not so much that it stopped me from like hanging out with other people and everything, but it got rid of my prejudice of like, and everyone in MMO is probably going to be like really terrible. And like they got me into Guild Wars 2, and all our friends had so much fun hanging out on it and playing it together, whether we were in the same dorm or not. And I promise I'm gonna get back to it eventually. I promise I want to have fun and play Guild Wars. I'm sorting out a whole bunch of other stuff right now, and it's like it's a while. It'll take me some time to like get back used to the gameplay and everything, but you know, we'll slaughter together in our time. But something that was really cool to me is that they go to raves and they do cosplay and such, and they already had like a social media presence, all this kind of stuff that I was like, this is the fire outside the frying pan when it comes to not just socializing, but socializing as a geeky person with niche taste in America, especially in the Midwest. So, you know, the fact that like someone whose personality would suggest that like they would stay away from this was very deeply invested into it was something very inspiring to me. And I started, they're one of the reasons I started getting into it and pushing myself to be more out there. It kind of started more with my art stuff and getting comfortable with like all the stuff that my classes required for, you know, getting my portfolio out there and everything, especially because it's a lot of time consuming stuff. So if you're wondering like, why am I saying that when it's like this year that I really like doubled down on it, well, that's why. And something else that's awesome is they would let me bum around in their dorm room, which was not only like very enjoyable because I was in a jock dorm. I didn't really understand like what I was getting into. It wasn't like horrible, but you know, it was irritating for someone that invests their time into doing artwork and learning things about like programming, animating, and everything, and who wants to devote their time to video games and anime and comics and all that. It's not as easy to just focus on that stuff. I'll leave it at that. But it was also like across the entire way of the campus because I can't read maps. So in between classes, getting to rest in their dorm for a time being was really helpful. Kept me from exhausting myself every day of the first year. I fixed that going into my second year, but you know, it was taxing. And sometimes they even let me hang out longer than, you know, like recommended rules, like the kind of stuff they don't really enforce. But like, you know, there'd be those days where my roommates had a guest over and it would go for a while at night. I couldn't stay the whole night, obviously, but when those nights did come and I wasn't getting any replies on, hey, is it safe to come back to the room, Chibi was very understanding and let me just hang out and, you know, get my homework done, eat food. They served me tea and got me into tea, even though I didn't really like tea. Above all that, Chibi was one of the first people, that was like, not just outside of the norm, but they're an asexual, and they're gender fluid. So I learned a lot about the LGBTQIA community from them, along with my roommate, but I credit them a bit more because whenever I had like a handful of confusion, I could always count on Chibi to understandingly clear up things I didn't understand about the community and figuring that stuff out and, you know, communicating with people and such, and even pushing myself to like consider where I stand in that matter. And, you know, I'm still not 100% sure of it. Like, the more I've researched into it, I would say I lean closer to like a pansexual, if anything. Now that I've learned about it, and I'm still not 100% sure on that. But, you know, I'm at a point where I'm more comfortable acknowledging that kind of stuff and thinking it over instead of just letting things sit somewhere. And it's also because I have such a great friend who helped me branch out my thoughts on that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's something that I'm like, I don't really worry about it as like part of my identity, but if I feel more comfortable having an understanding of myself that I can think about it if I have to. You know, I always want to be like very respectful to anyone, however they want to identify, because it falls in line with my moral code of no one should ever feel like they have to be uncomfortable with the people around them, telling them that they absolutely cannot be something just because, you know, it's different from the status quo kind of deal. Point is, Chibi is a very awesome person, a great inspiration in my life, a great supporter of my work, and I say this because I've actually done it. I would run across the freeway just to get them Taco Bell. That was a workout, but I did it. The reason that they got into helping me with these videos and getting my content out, helping me think about the social media presence that I have and what I should start putting out, how I should formulate it. I'm still working on it, and you know, if it seems like I'm not taking your advice all the time, it's because I'm still thinking it out. It's not that it's off the table. The reason they're helping me out directly with all this now is because when I was still job hunting, they were also job hunting, and it's a very taxing thing because you can do as much as you want, but at the end of the day, it's a two-way street, and if the communication doesn't come back in your favor, putting yourself out there, there's just not much you can do about it at a certain point. I eventually did get a job, but they were still job hunting through the entire time I was working there, and I eventually got to a point where that job exhausted me so much that I wasn't even able to get any of my work done on my actual career that I wanted. Like, I couldn't even work up the energy to sketch in my sketchbooks that I brought with me to do on my lunch breaks and everything. Like, I was so tired whenever break time came around that I was just sleeping in my car, and I didn't want to sit in the break room because that involved draining more energy because I had to socialize and everything. So anyone I worked with, no, it was no offense. It's just how my energy is. In this trying time of 2020, I tried to make the most of things because my loans were put on hold for a while, and I had made enough money that like I could see myself holding on to it for the foreseeable future, at least into the next year. So I thought now's the time to finally gamble on getting at least some kind of scaffolding, some kind of support and groundwork laid out for my career, so that if and when I had to get back to another job, I knew I wasn't sweating that I was missing a window on building a community, getting my content out there, getting my artwork out there, building stuff up and practicing my skills more and more, honing them the way they need to be honed in order for me to really be worth my salt. And when I did quit, I started pushing into this, I had a realization that if I'm capitalizing on my creativity, it's not going to show a whole lot in the sound editing, but that's still something that needed to be done, and it's a very tedious process. Not one that like I don't sometimes enjoy, but one that if I really wanted to get this work out in a timely manner, that I had to get some help with. And I knew Chibi was still looking for a job, so I offered them minimum wage for all their hours on editing the sound in these videos, and thanks to that, I don't think that I would be anywhere near as far as I've gotten with all my projects. Like, I'm finally getting to a point where I've figured out how to streamline my content and branch out into other content so I can put out more, and I can get a schedule down now that I have some data on how long it takes to do this or do that. And it's thanks to them helping me out with the workload. And also thanks to their help with the editing, it frees me up for more time to refine pieces of the content instead of just like exhausting myself trying to do all the work to put something out. So while they're editing, I'm working on drawing new stuff for them and getting licensing handled and working on organizing new platforms that I can put my content out on, profiles and everything. Overall, what I'm saying is I am immensely appreciative of all the work they're doing to help me out, even if it's just like, really something that's seems like one minor thing. They help me out on all the little stuff too, figuring out what to do with our Discord, figuring out where to put out more content, considering TikTok, but I honestly still haven't thought of what I would put up there that I could make for their time limit. And being honest, with YouTube's new terms of service, and on top of that, with how close we're getting to like the deadline of I won't have enough money to stably keep putting out this content, I might have to cut. Like I'm going to at least get through the next couple of months, put out as much as I can, and I may have to cut it all completely in half for a while next year. And on top of that, I may even have to downsize. And downsizing with two people and being the head of something, it's not something I'd want to do, obviously. But it's one of those things where as much as I planned, it just might be how luck has decided things. But if it does come to that, I hope that you quickly get a new career going, get a new job, whatever happens. And if we get back up to pace where I can afford to have you on the team again, I hope you come back. I will welcome you with open arms, and I will always be appreciative of your friendship and everything you've done for me. So, happy birthday, you anxiety-ridden Eevee child of a person. And, yeah, I don't know how to end it. Thanks for everything. And just an end note, if you want to support the channel, you're also collectively supporting this awesome person that I just talked about for almost half an hour. You can follow me on Twitch. You can like and subscribe. I've done like 10 takes of this. I'm just gonna leave that garbage in there. Like and subscribe the video. Follow me on Twitch. Donate to the Patreon. That's what we really need. Go for those things because they don't cost you anything. The Patreon is we only have a $1 tier for right now. If we get more people, I can add more tiers, and I've even sketched out and made plans for merchandise if we get big enough, but we need to know people are into our content before we put that kind of stuff out. Follow on Twitter and Instagram and everything. Check out my DeviantArt, all that kind of stuff, and all your support vicariously supports Chibi as well. So if you don't like me, why wouldn't you support this person, this awesome person right here? This person's amazing. Thanks for stopping by, and have fun geeking out.